You know what I miss? When action figures were toys. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to the Junk Room, everybody. It's me, the Junkman, coming back for a rant. I don't think I've done a Junkman rant in a while, so this should be a lot of fun. Because I like to do these rants to see if you guys are on the same page I am, or if you're like, Junkman, you're just being that old man screaming at the clouds. Back in my day, action figures were toys. Because, let's be honest, action figures aren't toys anymore. They don't look like toys. Now, growing up in the 70s, 80s, I played with a lot of action figures. And then I took a few years off, and in the 90s, I got back into collecting action figures. And the one thing I loved about them is they look like toys. Did they look like a copy from what I saw in the movies and the television show and the comics? No, they look like a smaller down toy version of that. And that's what I miss. Now, don't get me wrong. Toys today, compared to what we had, if you're thinking about them the way they look, they just look more like the actors, more like what you see in the TV and the comics and the movies and stuff. But to me, that just seemed to have lost some of its fun, some of its flair. I want my toys to look a little different than I see. Let's look at Greedo. Here's the Greedo Kenner figure. I played with this one as a kid a lot. I love this figure. And let's be honest, does this look like Greedo from the movie? Okay, maybe the head does a little bit, but he's wearing a green jumpsuit. Did Greedo wear a green jumpsuit? Not in any Star Wars movie I've ever seen. And let's look at a Greedo today. Here's the latest photo of a Greedo action figure I could find. Does it look more like Greedo from the film? Well, it's not wearing the high heels, but yes, it does look more like Greedo. But let's put both figures on the screen. Here they are, a newer Greedo and the original Greedo. Let me ask you, take your mind out of being a collector and look at this as a kid point of view. Which one looks the most fun? Which one looks like you would buy it and just have a lot of fun with it? I think if you're honest, you're going to say, well, the newer Greedo looks more like what we see in the film, but the original Greedo looks more fun to play with. He looks like one you can throw around and be rough with. You can put it inside a ship and throw it down the stairs over and over again. And although after about 15 times that ship might break, that Greedo's going to be in pretty good shape 99% of the time. You take one of these newer figures, hell, you're lucky if you get out of the package without an arm breaking off. And let's say you do get it out. You got to be extremely careful with these. You got to hold them with gloves because you're going to break it. There's no way these newer figures can take a tumble down the stairs, at least not more than 5 times. They just look like they're going to break. And when you see Greedo or some of these older toys, they look fun to play with. Do these new ones look fun to play with? Here's a look at some newer figures. And again, ask me, do they look like they're fun to play with? Again, yes, they look more like the actors and the things we see in the television screen and the movies. No, what they look like is something you would take out of the package, look at it, and then stand it up in the background somewhere. Now, that's fine if you're a collector. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking at this as a point of view from a kid's eye, because that's the part I love about toys is it doesn't capture the movie for me in toy form. It reminds me of being a kid. That's why I still like toys today, because it just takes me back to my childhood, even if it's not like a toy I grew up on, although my vintage toys is the one that gets me more emotional when I see them. But I just miss toys that look like toys, if it makes any sense. Again, these new figures look like you take them out of the package, even if you're a kid, and how can that be fun? They have no ships to go with them. They have no play sets to go with them. If they do, it's very limited. It's not that fun. And then you take them out and you put them on the shelf. That's all you can do with them. 95% of the time, they don't stand up unless you can just get the arms and everything just right to get the balance just right. And then you got to walk around on your damn tippy toes because you know it's going to tip over. You can forget putting a weapon in his hand because, one, it's probably not going to fit in the hand. And second, if it does fit in the hand, it's going to add too much weight and the figure is going to fall over. Now, hold on. Let me stop this rant just for a minute, because I want to tell you about some exciting news through the YouTube channel. If you didn't hear, we're going to now do 3 videos a day. As you know, we've been doing one at noon and one at 8, all times Eastern. But now, 5 o'clock every day, 7 days a week, you will get a YouTube short that I'm calling Junkman's Quickie. That's right, you get Junkman's Quickie every day at 5 o'clock right here on the main channel. And if you're a channel member on YouTube or Patreon, guess what? You get all 7 videos on Sunday. You don't have to wait around each day. But now let's get back to me ranting. Now, I would say that it's because these new ones are aimed to collectors, but I keep being told kids still buy action figures. And I'm pretty sure sales-wise, kids are buying more action figures than the adult collectors. It's a bigger market. But I think the toy companies went to get the collector money way too much. They know the collector money is going to buy everyone in the series when a kid's going to just buy the one he thinks cool. But I don't know, they just don't look like toys anymore. Again, let's look at some toys from the 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s. Now I call these toys, they're action figures, but they're toys. Look at them. Maybe I'm wrong, but seeing all these here, it just looks fun to play with. Some of them I didn't have, and I think, man, I wish I was a kid I could have these. These look like they would have been a lot of fun to play with. But let's look at some newer toys. And I'm not talking about those based on video games. I think when it comes to, Roblox and, I don't know, what's the other, Minecraft. I think those are kind of aimed for the kids and make them look like fun. But we're talking the movies and TV tie-ins here. So let's take a look at today's toy. Now, are they screaming, play with me? Again, they look beautiful. They look more like the actors. They look more like what we see on the small screen or on the movies or in the comic books. But do they look like they're fun to play with? When you see these, do your mind go, hey, that's something I want to play with. Hey, I wish I was 8 years old. I would play with that. No, it looks like something you would take out of a box and stand up on a shelf. Oh, how fun is that? Again, a lot of fun for a collector, but is it fun for a kid? And not only is it fun for a kid, is it fun for someone that's into toys? Now, I think there's two different mindsets when it comes to adult collectors. You got people like me that really love the toy side of the action figure. Reminds me of playing with action figures when I was a kid. I like the vintage stuff. Brings back a lot of memories. I like the new stuff that look like toys. Great. But then you have some more older adult collectors that, and I count this as maybe teenagers and up, that want to see the latest television show made into action figures so they can stand them on a shelf and everything. They don't want to play with them. Well, I don't want to play with them either, but I want my toys to look like toys. I want my action figures to look like toys. Is that so bad? Now, here's a look at some retro figures. Retro figures are really big right now. This is when they try to make a toy look old. Looks like something you would have played with in the 80s. But I'm not going to sit here and lie. I know these don't look appealing to kids. I wouldn't think. Hell, most of these retro figures are based on stuff kids don't know. They actually aim for collectors. And I would think here these sell more to collectors than kids. Now, there are a few toy companies that seem to get it right when they're doing the retro and for kids. Take the newest He-Man retro figures. Here they are here. Yes, they look like the old He-Man figures we grew up with, but they did kind of update them. And I think for a kid that knows what He-Man is, I don't know how many kids out there today even know who He-Man is. Not counting those kids that have parents that's into really 80s stuff and showed them He-Man. I don't know how many kids out there discovered He-Man on their own. At least the He-Man that look like these. But at least these look like toys. And they don't look like they're going for the adult collector retro look. Although some do pick up. I can kind of see how this line appeals to both of them. Now I also get this feel with the McFarlane figures. The ones they've done that look like superpowers. I think they've done really good at trying to mix this line to where it looks a little updated, it looks a little retro. So I think you get action figure collectors that want their action figures to look like toys. They'll pick these up, or they grew up with superpowers, they'll pick them up. But I think these might actually appeal to a kid. If a kid's walking around in a store and they see these, they will probably be like, hey, I want to get those figures. They look like fun to play with. And not only that, these superpower ones that they've come back out with, guess what? They got vehicles and stuff for the figures to play with. That's something you just don't see in most action figure lines today. Again, they don't look fun when they have nothing to play with. Part of the fun of buying some of the old Star Wars figures or He-Man figures was that you knew you had playsets and ships. And hell, you had a car that looked like a shark. That was fun. That was fun. But today, they spend so much time trying to make it look like what you see in the TV and the movies, they're just missing out. And why do action figures have so many joints on them nowadays? I mean, look at these figures. They bend every possible way possible. Hell, these Star Wars toys probably bend more places than a Bend-'em action figure. I'm surprised they haven't put toe joints on these figures yet. Do you really need every little part of the body to move? I don't understand the one that's right here, the one that's under the breast. I've never played with an action figure and thought, oh man, it'd be great if I could bend my figure at the chest. I don't understand that. It always looks horrible because you can see the line. Now there's a few figures, they do kind of mix it together and make it look good, but overall, I don't understand why they do this. Why they put I just can't figure that one out. But I guess that's enough of a rant. I'm just more trying to figure out what you guys think. Am I like, man, Junkman, you're just missing out, man. Today's figures are more fun. I play one with my kid. They don't break. They're awesome. They're sturdy. They look great. Or are they just too focus on trying to make it look like what we see in the movies and the TV shows, and it's missing that spark of being a toy. Well, anyway, that's my rant for the day. I want to thank you for watching, and as always, thumbs up like my content, subscribe to the channel. We'll talk again soon.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.